Spurs fans, what an unbelievable night that was. Much easier than we anticipated, that's for sure. So let's just start. Let's just get the guests in, making their debuts today. We've got Callum. How are we doing, my man?
Mate, let's put it this way. I'm ecstatic. I'm tired. I'm dead. I'm jumping with joy. I don't know what else to say, mate. Let's put it that way. And I didn't expect to be doing a podcast tonight, but I am pleasantly surprised and pleasantly wrong to say that we are in a fucking final. Let's put it that way, mate.
Mate, I was sitting there thinking, this is either genius to do one or just absolutely crazy to do one. And it's crazy club, and here we are. So thanks for coming on, mate. Really much appreciated. I've also got James. I think James having some issues with his camera, but the mic's on, I believe.
Can you hear me?
Right? Yeah, all good.
Yeah. My camera, for some reason, has decided it does not want to cooperate this evening for whatever reason. It was working 2 hours ago, and now it's not working, but glad my microphone is working. Unplugged everything. I'm feeling ecstatic, mate. We're in a European final.
Absolutely.
For the second time in 6 years, and I'm wearing a suit, mate, but no one can see that, sadly. But mate, I can't fucking.
He's dressed up for his debut. I love it.
And my camera, it lights up. The lights on it light up, and it makes a noise, but Windows won't detect it. I don't know what the issue is. It will work in like 2 hours' time, guarantee it. But yeah, thanks for having me on. Wonderful to be on, and come on, you Spurs.
No, cheers for coming on. I mean, just an absolute crazy day, and 6 years to the day since Amsterdam as well. So maybe we just have to try and line up days so that we play on this day every year, and maybe we'll do something special. Do you know what I mean? So I just can't help but just absolutely smile. So the one I said, I'm going to put some things in that we can kind of chat over, but I think we're mainly kind of just going to go over the game. But the first question I have to ask everyone: was it a cross? Was it a shot? Did he mean it? Did he not?
I think it's got to be a cross, ain't it? It's got to be a cross. He's done them before, and the same discussion comes up constantly. Is it a cross? Is it a shot? I don't think he means it, because when Porro scores goals, he scores bangers, and they're all off that left foot. When he puts these crosses in, you just think he's just hit it, because he don't usually cross the ball that much. Well, not well, at least. But I mean, fuck it, we'll take it. It got us going, didn't it? After a very calm, turgid first half.
I was texting people throughout the game, and I was just like, it's just the most boring game in the world, but I'll take it. I just don't care. I just don't want there to be any sort of drama.
And that's the thing. I mean, it's Spurs. We're always going to have drama, aren't we? We're never going to.
We are just so shell-shocked as a fan base that we've done it, aren't we?
Well, yeah, because obviously Arsenal went out last night and we've actually gone through, but it's against United, and this is where I start becoming a Spurs fan again and not being overhyped, thinking, fuck, it's United. We've done them 3 times in a season. Can we do it a 4th? That's what my hopes are.
I mean, it would be so typical if in the one match we lost to them this season, it was the match to mad. But I mean, we've beaten them before, and they're nothing special. They are. We've been terrible most of the season, but there is something a little bit different about us in Europe, and I just really hope that prevails. I mean, they got lucky against Marseille, and not Marseille, Lyon. Yeah, French people, French side, at Old Trafford.
Farmers League, ain't it? As they call it.
Well, I mean, PSG are probably going to win the Champions League, but yeah, And
we don't talk about Champions League. We don't talk about Champions League in this chat. Don't need
to. Arsenal ain't in it, and let's be honest, they've never won a European title. So, if we win, it'll be 4-0 us. So, they're a small club.
All the stars were aligning for them to go out and win the Champions League, and for us to get beat. I could just see it happening. And when they lost yesterday, I thought just hold your horses, just wait, because if we get knocked out by Bodo as well, I just held my tongue, and thankfully I did. Now I can say some bits and pieces. group chats are going to get it tomorrow.
Mate, same. I mean, one of my mates, he's an Arsenal fan. We went to school together, and I didn't talk to him yesterday. And I texted him as we went 2-0 up, and I just said, "Yeah, did you enjoy the Champions League last night, then, mate?"
Oh, don't. With me, my old man Spurs, I went down and saw him, and I went, "We're in a Europa League final." I walked up the stairs, and my little brother's an Arsenal fan, and I went, "All right, you see, we're in the Europa League final." We just walked into his room and just went away. Fucking hell.
I just can't believe it. I mean, even we're 16th, 17th in the league, and look at us grinning. It's just that club is just mental.
When you remember though, West Ham did it with that Europa Conference League final, didn't they? They was in the lower positions. I think they was 13th, 14th. It's just everyone's got an agenda now that because there's two low clubs that are going to be in the final, that everyone's against it.
Yeah, it's never been a problem before. I mean, never been a problem.
Yeah, exactly. It's never been an issue before. It's just people kicking up a fuss for the sake of, engaging people, or say something daft so people get wound up about it. Arsenal again. Wow. Oh, you shouldn't be in the Champions League in the Europa League. Mate, honestly, I don't give a fuck where we go. Sorry for swearing. I don't care if we go into the Conference League for the Europa League. I don't care if we're not even in Europe next season. Winning this means we have had a better season than everyone in the league other than Liverpool. No question. Europa League is a bigger trophy than the FA Cup. So I don't care if we're in Europe next season. If we win this, it matters. But they're trying to already disparage it. I don't know why. It's weird. Personally, I find it weird.
It is a Spurs thing, though. It's 100% a Spurs thing. It's always when Spurs do something that something has to be changed, or there has to be a problem with it, or whatever. It's always with Spurs. Big up John in the chat. I bet you're one happy man. Come on, you Spurs. Big up. So obviously, let's just start with the thoughts on the game. Obviously, we were saying earlier, just a little while ago, that it was kind of a boring first half. Very, very un-Postecoglou like, to be honest with you. They kept saying on the commentary that if it was chaotic, then it would probably work in Bodo's, but it was just completely dead, wasn't it? We just nullified everything for 45 minutes. What was your thoughts on the first half, Callum?
Very, very slow, but composed. We complain about. Well, I know I complained that it was a very turgid first half, but we was actually controlling the game. There was very little to really talk about. There was a couple of unnecessary cards given in there. You could definitely see, Mickey was having fun on the AstroTurf. That pace, I mean, the amount of skidding and sliding all over the place with the rain, that was fun. But no, I thought it was composed, and we had to control the aspects from the start of the game through till half time, because Bodo did have their chances, but they was very much aerial chances, and to be honest, their front man didn't look very comfortable with them, let's put it that way, with the whip of the ball. So no, very, very composed, but a boring first half compared to what we've experienced previously. I won't say expect, I'd say experienced.
How about you, James? What did you think of the first half?
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit naff, wasn't it? It was just unnecessarily tense. I mean, Porro, he had a free kick. He was perhaps a little bit unlucky that didn't go in. I thought it was a good effort. But, on the one hand, I was thinking, this ain't great for us. But equally, I was thinking, well, we're 3-1 up. So as long as we're not letting anything in, happy days sort of thing, good game management.
Yeah.
And we looked very, especially first 20 minutes, I thought we didn't look comfortable. We looked nervous. And I mean, they're in the Arctic Circle. It's on an AstroTurf pitch. And that is completely different to playing on like a regular grass pitch.
You could tell it a bounce of the ball. It was just skidding off the surface. And apparently it was raining a couple of hours before kickoff. And then they went out and flooded the pitch with water.
Yeah.
So they got the fucking waterboard next to them. To be fair, that whole place is on top of each other, so I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, the first 20 minutes, 25 minutes, we looked very uncomfortable. But I did think after that, by around the 30-minute mark or so, we did settle in. And I thought we grew with confidence, and I thought we played a lot better from then on. But, that is exactly the kind of time where you can see the goal, because you're playing in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. you're playing in the Arctic Circle. There's a polar bear next to the pitch, and they were setting off fireworks at 2 a.m. outside the Spurs hotel.
They're pricks. They're fucking pricks for that. What's the arsehole move?
I said it on Twitter, and someone found it quite amusing. I called the city of Bodo. I called them fishy pricks. Someone found that very funny. But no hate to Bodo. I'm sure they're wonderful people, and to be fair, I'd probably do the same, roles reverse sort of thing. But yeah, exactly. We looked uncomfortable, but we grew into the game and we didn't let anything in early on. And that was the important thing. And again, the team showed sort of quite a mature performance, holding it together.
I was so shocked by it. It was just completely against everything we've kind of been all year. Do you know what I mean? It was erratic. It was, in terms of we've been all year, we've been erratic. We've been out of position. We haven't been settled. We haven't looked composed.
Yeah.
And it all pulled together in this game.
I think Basuma looked very comfortable in that first half as well. This seemed to be, because of the pace, it kind of was at his level sort of thing. He weren't running about, but he was very composed there. Bentancur was very tidy as well. And even Kulu, I thought, was a lot more proactive today compared to the last couple of sort of games that he's had, to be honest. He definitely looked more comfortable in midfield.
He needs to get back up, doesn't he, for us to be able to stand a chance in the final. I think that Kulu is going to play a big part, especially if Maddison's not around. But yeah, I just feel like it was just such a weird. I was expecting it to be very tight. I spoke to a lot of people. Most people were saying probably a 2-1 loss. But obviously that would still send us through, and it would be nervy, it would be edgy at the end, that sort of stuff. But it was just a complete. It's like looking back on it, it's almost like a blur. Like the fact that there was just there weren't any of that really. There weren't like a situation where you thought we're going to lose it here. If it wasn't Spurs, like we could be 4-0 up and still lose it, because that is typical Spurs. But it was a real strange one. So obviously it was a great little cross shot by Porro. Solanke picked up another one. It's his first one in open play for a while, I think, isn't it? I think you got Frankfurt was the penalty.
Yeah,
it's his first one in open play for quite a while, so hopefully that gives him a bit of a boost. But I don't know whether you've seen last week we was talking about the fixtures that are coming up, and we could actually play like a backup team in every single fixture because they're just surrounded by Europa League fixtures.
I've sort of thought since pre-Frankfurt, I've kind of been in the position since we got knocked out of the EFL Cup, League Cup by Liverpool, which that happens. We got to a semi-final though. Okay, we got spanked at Anfield, but that can happen to anybody at Anfield. Do you know what I mean? I've just kind of checked out of the league. I don't really give a fuck if we win or lose in the league. Apologies for swearing again. It won't affect us in any way. Like, we finished 13th instead of 15th. Doesn't make any difference to me. I don't care. Play the under-21s. Like, play Mikey Moore up front. I don't care. I don't care if we lose 6-0. Like, I said this. I was talking to somebody in the pub about the West Ham game, and I said, I honestly don't care about that result. As long as we beat Bodo Glimt, I don't care. They can beat us 20-0. I get that's a cup final for them, and that's their biggest day ever if they beat us, because they're a small club who live in a terrible football stadium. But, and I get they have to have binoculars just to see the players, but I don't really care about the league, and I would honestly rest players. I get you can't totally rotate the entire squad in between games because, players have to have match fitness, they have to have, minutes in their legs, all that sort of thing. But I wouldn't risk, Romero or Van de Ven until the Man U game. Generally, I wouldn't. I mean, he's done that. He's played Davies and Danzo's his centre-back partnership, Ange, which really just shows where the priorities are at the moment of the club. Because games don't matter. I don't care.
I don't know if I'm the only one, but when Van de Ven starts running, I'm like, oh no, I can just see him pulling up all the time, especially on that plastic pitch. There was a sprint, I think you mentioned it earlier, Callum, when he was run to the byline. And I'm thinking,
he took the Bodo guy out, didn't he? I think because he was so quickly, he ended up taking out the Bodo guy on the left-hand side. And fucking 4G pitches, they're crap. They're horrible. They're what you play on when you're at school or when you're playing six-a-side. I mean, they're for people like me who smoke and can't run for a full 90 anymore. Let's put it that way. They're just there for if you pass out, at least you can fall on a soft surface and all that, mate. So,
They are naff, mate. Like, I remember when I was younger, this is a side tangent, apologies. We used to have Friday night football training. I'm talking when I'm like 13 on an AstroTurf pitch. And it was great fun because it was like 5-a-side football matches for like 3 hours. But slide tackle on that turf.
Oh,
and your knees hurt for like 3 days after. They're still killing on Monday morning. You know, it's not the same as a proper grass pitch, and obviously that takes some adjustment. But, you know, okay, first 20 minutes we struggled, but fair play to the team. They adjusted very well, and, you know, they adapted to the issue. It's that sort of game management that we've lacked all season. I don't know why it comes out in Frankfurt and in the middle of nowhere in Norway. We can manage these games and we can't in the Premier League, but, you know, that shows what we are capable of. That sort of game management, that intelligence. I don't know why it's been lacking all season. It perplexes
It's really weird,
me,
isn't it?
but
it's very, very strange. And
yeah.
I mean, he obviously played it against West Ham, but because it was quite a rotated team, you probably didn't see the best of it. But it's really, really weird why it's taken this long for him to make quite obvious changes as well. Like I've always felt that single pivot or that single man being there was just always too open. He just needed to bring someone in a little bit, and then he does it, and it completely changes. The inverted wing backs and fullbacks, they don't need to be inverted as much, and it's really weird. Why do you think it's taken so long for him to? Do you think he stumbled across it? I actually think a couple of the injuries that we've had, I think Sonny not being there has probably benefited us in a way in terms of being able to get Tell going and being able to get Richie going, and they can just offer something a bit different. And then obviously if Bergvall's fit, I take it both of you probably thought that Bergvall would be a starter. So has the injuries potentially made him switch, or what do you think he's done that switch?
I think on the one hand, potentially there's a little bit of stubbornness from Ange, because look, he's been a manager for 30 years or so, longer than I've been alive, and he's been successful everywhere he's ever been. And if you've had one way of playing football that's always been successful, you're going to be stubborn about that, aren't you? I think it's just inevitable. Like if you do one thing one way and it always works, well, you're going to stick with it. I think perhaps, you know, the injuries and issues at Spurs has had to make him think outside what he already knows a little bit. And that's perhaps why it's forced him into changes. In particular, 2 pivots. One pivot can work, but, you know, let's be real. Bentancur nor Basuma, they're not Sergio Busquets, are they? They are not that world-class 6 who can do that role that is needed of him. And I think maybe he's just been forced through injury to play a double pivot, and he's seen it work and gone, okay, perhaps I was wrong about a few things, and he's adapted his game plan in Europe. And equally, I think he's realised it's squeaky bum time in Europe. This is the one thing that's most important, and maybe I have to do things that, you know, perhaps go against my philosophy on football. I think it's a combination of factors.
It's the only thing that's keeping his job at the moment. Let's put it that way. In all honesty, we have to be honest about it as well.
100%, 100,000,000%. If he wasn't in this, it'd be gone. But do you think then? So if we're saying that it's the injuries and it's circumstantial, job security, whatever. So let's just say in a world where we keep him for another year, which I don't think's happening. But if we do you think he reverts back, or do you reckon he starts using this as more of a tactic? Because Bergvall's out for a little while now, so Basuma's going to play, so he's probably going to stick with this tactic now. But if he was to have an extended period, do you think he'd go back on it?
I think he'll go back to his old ways. He is a stubborn man, as he's proven for the last. Well, we're at what 22 months with him now, isn't it? In the job, so I think. Well, we thought it was all well and good when we beat Brentford, didn't we, earlier in the season, back in January, and they played so well, they won that controllingly, and they controlled it, and then he's gone back to it, and then we did well against Frankfurt with a style where we controlled from the back, and then he's gone back to his same old way, and this whole thing with inverting fullbacks is crap. It doesn't work. Even it's why Sonny doesn't play as well, because Udogie's getting in his space. It's why our wingers are all over the place and don't know where they go as well. So no, I think he will be stubborn though and go back to it, unless he gets the key players he wants in the summer if he was to stay.
I think the big thing with Ange, especially, is he's very ideologically, in terms of football philosophy, dogmatic,
delusional.
I don't think necessarily delusional. I think, to be completely honest, I think he's an Australian Marco Bielsa. I mean, that's what he is. He's Bielsa, but he's Australian.
I see where you're coming from.
We remember how Bielsa ended up at Leeds, so we got that version of Bielsa now, where he got ruined in the end.
Well, I mean, they shouldn't have sacked him, in my view, at least. They brought in Jesse March, and he's
dog crap.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's awful.
There's a reason Pochettino and Guardiola say Bielsa is the best manager in the world. But I feel like ideologically, at least with Ange, there is a certain substance, but equally, he's not the right man for Spurs. Because the thing is, let's say you gave Ange prime Barcelona, Messi, Xavi, Iniesta, he'd win everything. He's not very good tactically. He cannot manage a game tactically. Thomas Frank is better tactically than he is. But he is very good at man management, I think. And also, he seems like a nice guy. Now, whether or not he's the right man for Spurs, different conversation. But he just reminds me of Bielsa a lot, personally.
Yeah, I think one of his problems is that his roles in which he plays players are so specific that there isn't the capabilities of your everyday player to be able to go and match them. That's really easy if you're playing in a league where you need a player that's 5 or 6 out of 10. You're like a Celtic, say they might have a 7 who could play in that position and look pretty good at it, but actually doesn't really suit them. But because they're very little anyway.
View of football.
His style for Spurs as well requires such high work rate and pressing ability as well. And 9 out of 10 players, I don't think, can do that. You need to have them playing 8 or 9s to make his style work every game.
I hope I don't jinx it, but I'm pretty sure Porro is the only one that hasn't come across an injury this year. Like first team player that's actually come across an injury.
I think even Porro got one at one point, but not like serious. It was only like 1 or 2 games. So yeah, probably because did Brennan have one or did Brennan stay fit?
Yeah, Brennan had. I'm pretty sure Brennan's had a hamstring injury. That's one of the reasons why I feel like he's gone off the boil so much, because it looks like he can't even control the ball at times. Whoa. And I feel like it's his hamstrings. He doesn't ever seem confident in running. I've never seen someone run and not look confident doing it. It's almost like
Ryan Sessegnon. We've got another Ryan Sessegnon. Jesus Christ! If we had him on the left and Brennan on the right, that'd be fun, wouldn't it? That'd be a fucking match made in bloody physio room,
mate. Hongi and Dombele. I mean, God, he was.
That tree trunk.
Only Spurs player I've ever booed, by the way.
Oh no, I booed Vlad Kirikesh before. That had something to do with it.
Hongi and Dombele, we were playing Morecambe in the FA Cup. It was my 19th birthday. He got made to look like a mug against a League One side, then subbed off by Conte and strolled off the pitch and threw his gloves at the bench and walked down the tunnel. And I booed because I thought, honestly, mate, you're on 200 grand a week. Mate, put me on the pitch. I'll give more effort than you're doing. But Brennan Johnson, for example. I'm a big Brennan Johnson defender because I'm Welsh and I support Wales and he plays for Wales. And I was talking to my mate.
And that's it. No other reason, just there.
Yeah, mate, he's Welsh. End of, mate. I'm backing him. But I was talking to my mate in the pub who's also Welsh. And he's like, hang on, he scored like 17 goals for you. He's meant to be great for you, Spurs fan. He's meant to be great for Spurs. Why is he a bit shit for, Wales? And I'm like, mate, this is exactly how he plays Spurs. He just taps in goals. Now, tapping in goals, that is certainly, his anticipation in the penalty area is fantastic and he can finish brilliantly. I will not argue that. He's a great finisher. He's a great poacher. But, if he's not scoring,
never does it in big games. He don't do it in big enough games for me. That's my problem.
If he's not scoring, he doesn't contribute anything.
Yeah, it's very much like that, isn't it?
He kind of reminds me of the Welsh Lucas Moura in terms of how it is. A lot of running into blind space and trying your best and putting all your effort in, but not a lot of end product.
Lucas Moura could beat a man, so...
But Brennan used to be able to. That's what I mean. That's why I feel like it maybe a hamstring or something. Yeah,
he could beat him at Forest. I mean, remember how good he was in that first season in the Prem for them.
Honestly, when he played for Wales before he joined Spurs, I remember him in Welsh qualifying games for the World Cup. He was running past people, dying around them. He looked like Aaron Lennon. He looked a little bit like Gareth Bale. Not quite as quick, but confident, very talented. There's obviously that player there. Why has he lost all this confidence?
Maybe we should
want to go past people.
We should make him into a left back first, and then try and reconvert him into another left winger instead. See how that goes.
In 3 or 4 years' time, we'll have Madrid knocking at the door. Is that what you're saying?
Your name's not Brennan. It's Gareth.
Who want that name? We've had that with Southgate. No, thank you. Not again.
God, yeah. I mean, to be fair play to Gareth Southgate because he created a cure for insomnia.
It's a bit like that first half, but as I said, I'd take any win in any way, shape, or form just to make sure we get through. We kind of touched on some injuries in some players. So Bergvall, Maddison, those. As I say, just to quickly run over because we will keep just going back to the game, I'm sure. But Maddison being out for the rest of the season, we kind of touched on it a little bit with regards to like Kulu and things like that. I feel like that could be quite a blow in the final.
Yeah, it could definitely have an impact because I mean, when you think how impact Bergvall and Maddison have been in our European run up, and Bergvall's probably been our best player since Christmas, I would say, in terms of what he's contributed to the team in a very poor thing. So no, when you've lost 2 of your creative players who are sort of your 10/8, it's got to be stepped into because obviously before Christmas it was Kulu and then he got injured. Maddison stepped up, then Bergvall did as well. So no, I think the impact that Kulu's got to have is a lot of pressure on the guy, and I kind of feel sorry for him because once again it kind of exposes our squad as such that we have enough players who can play as 8s. We've got 2 who can play as 10s, and no one can play as a 6. That's literally how fragmented it is. None of them are designed for Angie's system, are they?
No, not at all. And we've got about 15 players that can't play at all. So,
well, the fact that we had to name 2 freaking goalkeepers tonight just to qualify for home ground quota on the bench tonight is a joke. That's how.
And this is, I keep saying to people, like we obviously being on YouTube, you kind of a lot of it is speculation, and you're kind of going into who may or may not be able to, sign. And people are getting completely forgetting about it. If we get into the Champions League next year, we have to start naming club trained players. We only have 2.
Yeah,
be
named at this moment in time. Oh, there he is.
There we go.
Randomly started working. I hit it and then plugged it again, and it started working. It wasn't working 20 minutes ago.
Why do you look like you've gone to a funeral or just climbed out a coffin?
I mean, hair. I've always had long hair since I was 13. I was an emo kid in secondary, in high school in the UK. Nothing you can say can upset me. I wore eyeliner when I was 14 in secondary school.
Mate. Yes,
you cannot take the piss out of me. Secondarily,
I fucking love that, mate. That's brilliant.
I dress up for big matches.
Oh, legend, mate. Legend.
Anyway, it was the Bodo's funeral, wasn't it?
It wasn't working 30 minutes ago, and now it just randomly decided to start working again.
Queen Ellie said that Glenn Hoddle was defending the comments made by Arsene Wenger. I didn't see this, so apparently he was saying he was defending him, but Bentley disagreed.
Hoddle's a bellend. Since his heart attack, he's been a bellend.
Bentley is a hilarious. They just before I switched the game off, right at the end, they were talking about the game, and he was going, "Who cares? We're going to Bilbao."
I love David Bentley. I saw Lucas Moura. That he was interviewed about it. He said, "Oh, what do you think about Spurs?" And he said, "I hope they get to the final. I believe they can win it. I love Spurs. I've always been Spurs. I love them. I want them to win it." It's like Brazilians, mate. They are the
Sandro's the same as well. He fucking loves Spurs, That's the thing.
Absolute
Brazilians.
How can you be an adult, come to Spurs, and then love them? Like most of the fans don't even love them at this time. We're just like, these are fucking these just drive us absolutely mental. Sandro, absolutely, he's there quite a lot as well. He absolutely loves it.
Do you know who else idolises Spurs? Victor Wanyama as well. He keeps coming back as well.
Is he?
Yeah, I mean, he's back up in the Scottish League now, and that ain't gone that well for him.
He's in the Scottish Championship, is he not?
Yeah, plays for Dunfermline. They're the team that I kind of look out for. So when they signed him, I've got a few pals in Scotland, and they were messaging again. I can't believe we just signed him. How the fuck is he only 33? I was like, what? He's 33 with
really?
His legs were gone. His legs were gone. I remember the first few seasons for us, Wanyama just unplayable.
Yeah,
it's more physical than anyone else. Same as Moussa Dembele. When Moussa Dembele played for us, especially under Pochettino, he was the best midfielder in the world. Genuinely, I think for like 2 years, he was the best midfielder in the world.
They started to go
his legs went.
Yeah, they started to go around Twitter again, all them comments, all the different players. It was like every player that they spoke to. It was just like...
If you remember, though, Dyer was quality alongside both of them two as well at the time when he was at converted CDM. It's just that when he wanted to become a centre-back, and everyone said, no, Eric, you're not fast. You're not able to be a ball-playing centre-back. And yet somehow...
I mean, he's won a league title. So.
I know. It's fucking ironic, ain't it? And now he's going to sunny Monaco. He's got a nice little holiday booked.
Can't really complain with that, can you?
No, exactly. No, if
league title, you mate. Piss off to Monaco. Happy days.
Bayern's fans were absolutely fuming because they were calling him Beckendyer because apparently every game he played, he was their best centre back, and they were saying like you've got Upamecano,
Kim Min Jae.
Who else did they have? There's another one as well, and it was like Dyer was their mainstay, and they was literally saying like, how he hasn't been offered a new contract is ridiculous.
I would also like to point out, do you know who's top of the Italian league?
Napoli.
Yes.
Antonio Conte.
So Eric Dyer is apparently good enough to win the Bundesliga, and he's their best centre back. And our former manager is winning the league at Napoli after losing his best player. I might add, I can't pronounce the name, Georgian fella.
Kvaratskhelia.
Kvaratskhelia, yeah. And he lost Victor Osimhen. He didn't have Osimhen either in the summer. So, but then ironically, even Mourinho's second in the Turkish league. It's only because the team above him is apparently corrupt that he's not winning the league.
Nuno has taken a team who were 17th last season to potentially the Champions League. I am noticing a common denominator here.
We're slagging off Spurs on a night where we've just got to a European Cup final.
You are right,
guys. Come on.
How many viewers have we just lost live? We probably had like 1,000. We're down to about 2 now.
Look, I'm sorry. Look, let's get one thing straight. We're in a fucking European final.
And Arsenal won. Arsenal were fucking out.
There was someone put up on Twitter.
Enough said.
Someone put up on Twitter saying that if Arsenal finish second and we win Europa League, who's had the better season? I'm like, you are joking, right? Like we've won a European competition.
They've been slagging us off for years about not having trophies, even though they've never won a European trophy. They won the Cup Winners' Cup in 1993. But they've never won the Europa League. They've never won the Europa League or the Champions League. We've won the Europa League twice. They haven't.
It's just
conversation ended. Win the European Cup.
While we're talking about European Cups, the next one is simply, can we do it?
I knew you was going to ask this question. I haven't prepared myself for this yet. I've still got the hype of saying that we're in a final, but I remember the last time when we was in the Champions League final, I ended up getting morally pissed and then ended up in a fight that night when we lost. So, I mean, literally, I don't think I'm psyched for it yet, but we've got to believe, haven't we? We've got to fucking believe it. It's got to happen for us sometime.
Yeah, 100%. And I think if we perform like we have done in Europe over the last 3 or 4 games, then there's definitely a chance. I think we have got a decent squad there. and if they all perform to their top, then we've got a very good chance. But we just haven't seen enough of it. We only seem to see it in Europe. So I definitely feel like we have got a chance. Would you have preferred United or Bilbao? Because I think a lot of people preferred preferred United, and then when United won, they went, "Oh no, actually I prefer Bilbao."
I mean, on the one hand, the final's in Bilbao, so if we were playing Bilbao in the final, the atmosphere there is going to be electric. Equally, it might even be a Spurs-dominated final, fan-wise at least, atmosphere-wise. And Man U are pretty naff, right? They are pretty crap. But they do have the potential to show up in big games. So, it's a tricky one, but end of the day, that doesn't matter. Athletic, Man U, doesn't matter. We have an opponent, and what matters is what we do on the pitch. And I mean, all the Bodo Glimt players are going, "Oh, Spurs aren't that good." Me.
Yeah.
5-1, mate. Pipe down. Shut up.
That was a really, really strange set of tactics to start coming out and slagging Spurs players off.
I mean, thing is, before the first leg, I didn't really have any ill feelings towards Bodo. I thought, do you know what? Fair play, underdog story, Norwegian side, fought their way all the way through, good ownership, smart dealings. Fair play to the lads. Past 48 hours have maybe gone, piss off.
Fuck you. Yeah, fuck you.
You've just made me dislike you so much. I mean, mate.
It was really strange. It was a really strange set of tactics. I mean, as you say, coming from the underdog and everything else, you kind of...
It's worked so well, didn't it? It worked brilliantly, didn't it? 5-1. Well played, lads. Sorry.
So I'm gonna say that you both say we're winning it, and that's it.
Oh no, I wouldn't quite.
And then if we do win it, does Ange get another year?
No.
Don't think the fans will back him another year, even if he gets it.
If we win the Europa League, I would say to Ange, thank you. You've done something fantastic for the football club, and you'll always be a part of our history and a legend, but let's shake hands and cut ties. That way, at the very least, okay, no one's going to remember the league campaign, in 5 years' time. We're just going to remember he won us a trophy. And he can go to Greece or he can go wherever, and I'm sure he'll be successful. He can go back to Celtic and win another 20 league titles. That way, he can be the man who brought us a major European title, and that's what he's remembered for, because I just don't think his style of football is sustainable. And I equally don't think, that style of football requires an insane amount of investment. You basically have to have the best 11 players in the world for his style of football to work. And you're never going to have that at Spurs. So I think, win Europa League, thank you very much. We appreciate you for all you did. And you'll always be a little bit of a legend at Spurs, but I don't think it's going to work out long term. Like a girlfriend who you appreciate, but you can't see yourself getting married to.
That's a man said with experience. He's got experience of that, Callum, you think?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's definitely got experience with that one, and I think he's talking a lot of sense with Ange as well, to be honest, because literally the way that it is Daniel Levy's not going to back Ange with the players that he needs. No matter if we win this Europa League final and Ange goes to him, right, I need a £150 million war chest. We'll go and get a Johnny Cardoso. No one fucking knows who the geezer is. It was just a cheap deal as part of the Celso stuff. We'll go and buy another load of young players. And Ange needs the right balance this year of having youngsters come in, but he needs 3 youngsters and 3 Solankis or of that level to do it. And I don't see Spurs doing it at all. That's the thing. So if Ange did stay, I think he would be undercut by the club again. And I think it'd be unfair on him, in all honesty, because if we're going to lose players like Romero are going to go in the summer, so you're going to need another top centre-back, Richarlison going, another left winger to go, Son's going to be on his last legs. He should be nowhere near the first 11 next year. He should be off the bench. And I'm not saying that our youngsters aren't good enough, because I'll have Donnelly, Devine, Mikey Moore, Phillips around the squad next year, but I don't think they're ready to start 30 plus Premier League games plus 20 plus European games as well yet.
I just, I don't think that. I mean, Paratici's coming back. I've read on Twitter. Could be lies. Who knows, right? But you go from one set of recruitment standards to a completely separate set of recruitment standards. That's confusing. Look, Ange obviously is a fantastic man manager. The players are behind him fully, right? No one can argue that. Conte lost the dressing room, as did Mourinho. That's why Mourinho was sacked. He lost the dressing room. Nuno never had the dressing room.
I'm surprised Nuno even had the shirt or the keys to open the front door. Let's put it that way, poor sod.
I mean, if you hear your 9th choice for a job, that's not exactly reassuring, is it?
No.
I kind of feel bad for the guy, but I guess he's doing all right at Forest. But look, with Ange, you have to make a choice. What do we want Spurs to be? If it's venerate youth, let them play through, and accept we might be a bit shit some of the time, but we have this clear identity and philosophy, which is Ange's style of football, which is this very attacking, gung-ho style of football, which is pretty Spurs, to be fair. That's fine. But equally, we can't bitch and moan about being a bit naff when we lose 2-0 to Fulham because, the team's all teenagers. Or do we want to win titles? And in that case, well, then you have to back a manager who is pragmatic and can win titles. I mean, it's one of those things. And to be fair, we've been in one semi-final and now we're in a final. Okay, we've been naff in the league, but has Ange not done what we kind of wanted him to do to an extent? Like, he's taken us to a European final.
I've said this, that like I've been quite a bit of a defender of Ange, to be honest with you. Up until recently, I've been quite staunch on it, and that's where I get a little bit confused, because as a fan base, we want to win cups, and I feel like we've got not more of a chance, but we've got just as much of a chance of winning a cup with him as we have with anybody, because he's got us further than most managers have. So I feel like maybe it's a bit of luck, maybe it's there's some managers that are just cup managers, where you just think he's just going to get it done in the cup. Benitez was one of them. You don't bring Benitez in to win a league, but you think, he could go well in Europe, that sort of thing. So, but one of the main reasons, it was a new one that not new, but it kind of came about today. DiMarzio came up saying that Marco Silva's now Spurs' top target. Now, for me, not keen whatsoever. I've said, if anything, he's one of the only ones that I'm not really interested in. To be honest, at all. But
there are two managers for me.
He was the one that comes in.
There are two managers for me I'll take. Xavi or Pochettino. Xavi or Pochettino.
I always come back and forth on Poch. I do.
He'll always be. I mean, thing is, with Pochettino, there'll always be a segment of the fan base who want Poch back. He, in my view, was unfairly sacked. And it's like that ex-girlfriend who you broke up with, but she's really fit, and you think, "Fuck, could get with her." Maybe.
I watched the Ajax. There's a video that BT Sport put together 6 years ago when we beat Ajax. It was just after the game, and it was like little snippets here and there of the commentary and everything else.
Crying on the pitch and all that
and
stuff.
Every now and then I go and I watch it again, and it gives me that love for Spurs back. And I watched it again today, and I literally closed the video off and I went, "Fuck it, just get Poch back. Just fucking get him back."
And the one thing that's stopping Poch coming back is how much money it cost to get him in.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, he's doing a fantastic job of being a terrible manager for the United States at the moment. Like, Agent Poch, he's trying to get rid of that release clause for us. Good man.
Yeah, that's the only problem. That's a massive release clause, though, ain't it? 15 to 20 million pounds, depending on what league the club's in, what European competition they're in. It's all incentivized, everything like that. I mean, Xavi is, but they're both of that same ilk, can't they? It's the young manager that we want, or the young project manager to bring through the players and all that. Now, and to be honest,
I'd love Xavi. I mean, let's
look at what Hans Flick's doing with his team, isn't it?
It's all Xavi's team. I mean, if we hired Xavi and it was, we're going to have a clear philosophy, a clear identity, we're going to use youth, and okay, we might be a bit naff this season, but here's our plan, sort of thing. I feel like a lot of fans could get behind that. And I mean, I remember watching when Conte was manager, the Champions League match against AC Milan. And, you know, he brought on Davinson Sanchez for Lucas Moura or something daft when we were a goal down. I just remember hearing, "We want Pochettino back." And I thought, fuck, you're spot on, mate. I mean, I was in the pub with my boy Sam. Hi, Sam. He's watching. But, you know, look, it's one of those things that I think, well, I like Ange. I don't know that he's necessarily the correct man for Spurs, but I think I like him. I don't have any dislike for him. Like, I mean, I didn't like Conte by the end. I really hated Mourinho by the end. But, you know, if it's going to be a change of management, you know, no matter who we could get Pep Guardiola and he could be given £1 billion to spend, and there'd still be some people saying, get Poch though. And that won't end for the next 10, 15 years. And I think to some extent, either get Xavi or get Poch. And
do you, Callum, you seem to agree a little bit on the Xavi? Is that someone you'd be going for?
I like Xavi. I think he's got all the makings of a good up-and-coming manager. I think he's got a good potential. I think that Pochettino's got it's that sort of profile of manager that I like. So I liked Nagelsmann when he was linked before because he had that profile with Bayern, Xavi, Pochettino. I've seen as well Scott Parker linked. The only reason I kind of relate to that is his links with Spurs a little bit. He's more pragmatic, a little bit more defensive wise, but I think there could be something there. But when I see Marco Silva, we discussed it last night on another pod, and we said that I think Fulham is probably his level. You've seen it, Everton, Watford, Fulham. Can he really go to the next level? Probably not. I like Thomas Frank because I think he's got a nice balance between youth and he's actually quite good tactically. But Marco Silva for me, nah. I think some of the candidates out there are crap, and people have said Iraola as well, and I just think that's just a younger Pochettino, not a younger Pochettino, younger Postecoglou, because we're going to have the same injuries because it's all the same tactical play.
Yep, I completely agree. I don't know whether either of you have seen what Xavi come out and said as well today. So he apparently to the Athletic, he said, "I want to return to coach. I'd like a good project, something you can have at least 4 years to work and make a project type of thing. I'd love to work in the Premier League."
Mm-hmm.
And the rumour is that, I think you mentioned it earlier, James, Paratici coming back in, and apparently Xavi's his number one target for Spurs. So I think it could all align, definitely. And I've always said that I don't feel like there's an outstanding candidate, really. I think Xavi doesn't have Premier League experience, which is one of the big drawbacks of him. But he has experience everywhere else.
Apparently, Paratici wants Simone Inzaghi from bloody Inter Milan. No way we're getting that geezer. He's invincible.
Well, I had a look at his wages. He's on 5 million a year, and when Conte was here, he was on 15 million a year.
Ange's on 8. How is Inzaghi? Oh, actually, it's Italian league. They don't have the money. No, you're right.
Sure.
I'm sure I saw that the other day.
That's mental. I mean, thing is, right. Okay, so Paratici loves Xavi. That tells you it's a long-term project, utilising youth and smart recruitment. Okay, I can get behind that. I can fully get behind that. And the one thing I will say for Xavi is, I think the issue perhaps some of these younger managers, like say Nuno had, is players not respecting them in the dressing room. Like, who the fuck are you, mate? You're nobody. If Xavi walks up to you and says, "Yeah, you should be doing this," you're going to listen. He's one of the greatest midfielders of all time. So he'll instantly command respect to the dressing room. And, you know, he basically set up Barcelona for who they are now.
I've just had
maybe
a look.
tactically he's not the greatest, but...
Inzaghi is on €6.5 million net.
So that's £5 million.
And then plus 3 million add-ons, which is obviously, you probably get that. But we could at least double his salary.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, the one concern that I have with even this link with Paratici coming back is we're ping-ponging between recruitment strategies again. Are we going with data-led approach, or with Paratici, it's, I've got an agent calling me. He's got 20 players that's available to me. Who do you want? Sort of thing. It's sort of your bargain bucket picks.
Every time I read something about Paratici, I read everything he says in Tony Soprano's voice in my head. Try it. It's really funny. but that's just how I view him. He's Tony Soprano, mate.
He's Don Paratici, isn't he? Simple as that.
Oh yeah, and I mean, he would have had even during his ban, he would have had some influence over the club.
Vicario,
his brother was an
Dragostin,
intern or
all
something
that.
daft, but he did. Look, I like signings like Archie Gray, those young Bergvall. I like those signings. Lange was spot on with those signings. Let's have those signings, but let's also have signings like Kulusevski and Bentancur. How about we do both of them? They're both good signings.
Having the three youngsters and the three Solankis sort of thing. If you're going to do six, 3 seniors, 3 youth players to sort of balance
both of those sorts of signings. Okay, young prospect who you think might be good. Okay, you get 80 million. Let's say, you get 60 million. Sign young prospects, crack on. You sign established talent who can improve the team now. You also have 60 million. Just, go at it sort of thing. I like that. Archie Gray and Bentancur, fantastic. But I think you do need both. You can't just do one or the other. It certainly does affect the manager.
I actually said on Twitter the other day, someone was talking about Lang and the fact that he's not appreciated right now within most of the fan base, but actually that he's made some good signings. And I was like, in a perfect world, I would have Paratici looking after the first team and the elder statesmen, and I'd have Langer looking after the 21s and the young players coming into the first team. If both of them could somehow work together, I think you kind of got the best of both worlds. And you're right, almost like a football manager style thing where you go, this is what your budget is. So let's say we've got 100 million this year and we're spending 60 on ready-made first team players or 70 and you've got 30 and that's it. There is no that's it. That's what you've got, and you kind of have them both. Because I do think that, but I agree with you, Callum. I think that's one of our biggest problems is that we go not just in terms of recruitment, but also managers. So we've got 5 at the back manager. We then bring a 4 at the back manager. Now we've got 3 wing backs, and we don't play. And it's just like constantly. It's almost like we seem to go out and try and get like the best manager that we can get, as opposed to this is our style. This is what we're going to do. Let's find the best manager that suits this. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's why we need to get.
We're a reactionary club. We react, not plan. We react to everything. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's going to continue this summer because we can't do anything until we know whether we're in Champions League. Because exactly what you just said about Romero, I think Romero's gone regardless. Because I don't think he'll sign a new contract, and I don't think they'll keep him 1 year and then he'll have 1 year left. So I think he goes. If you're in the Champions League, I think you need to replace him. If we're not in Europe, I'm not so sure you do. I think Danzo and Dragostin, Van der Ven, probably Ben Davies will sign a contract. Vuskovic, Ash Phillips. I think you've probably got enough there.
Still got Dorrington as well.
Dorrington. Yeah, you've probably got enough.
What I've seen from Danzo is he seems like a pretty good centre back, personally. Davies, he's Welsh, so he's the Welsh Maldini. So no bad words about Ben Davies when I'm here, mate.
Gentle Ben, reliable, 7 out of 10. Simple as that.
He will be at the World Cup in America.
I don't think he should be a starter.
He's a good person to have around the squad. He shouldn't be starting for us, but he is a good person to have around the team.
And that's what I'm saying. If you've not got Champions League football, then I'm quite happy for him to be involved in the squad.
Reality is,
Van der Ven will be there.
We'll get what, 60 million for Romero, 70 million, something like that. Levy will make every second of that.
Yeah, they want to pay 40. They only want to pay 40 million euros. They don't even want to pay 40 million quid.
To quote Alex Ferguson, having my gallstones removed was the second most painful experience of my life. Negotiating with Daniel Levy was the most painful experience. I don't care who you are, mate. You're dealing with Daniel Levy. You are not going to have it. He's not letting Romero.
That was after the Berbatov deal, weren't it? He said that was the most painful transfer he's done.
And that kind of screwed us over, didn't it? Because Berbatov was a last-minute deadline day deal, and we couldn't. And I think we got Fraser Campbell in, didn't we, to replace him?
Also, I mean, I will say,
I might be wrong, but I'm sure that's
Berbatov has managed to sort of cleanse his image at Spurs quite a lot. I don't see any hatred for Berbatov at Tottenham anymore. A lot of Spurs fans seem to like him a lot, which is interesting.
He's done a lot of ambassador work and stuff with the local community, so
As
he's
the
built his
legend.
bridges there.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Sol Campbell completely screwed himself.
Sorry. Sol Campbell, Judas,
Yeah.
He screwed us over completely, and then he goes, "Oh, the Spurs fans hate me because I'm black." Mate, there's a fucking mural to Ledley King. No. It's not because you're skin colour, my friend.
Postecoglou has been spoken about in a press conference, and they've asked him about getting to a final, and he said, "If it's so easy to get to a final, why doesn't everyone in the top 3 do it?"
Do you know? For all of my criticism of Postecoglou, I love everything he says in press conferences. He defends the club in every press conference.
Don't say shit.
He's also said, "Mate, I love winning. It's what I've done my whole career." The guy, I mean, if he goes and wins a trophy, I just think that his press conferences are legendary status. If Mourinho was doing this sort of shit, people would be lapping it up and going on and on about him, basically at the start of a season predicting what. But the fact he's come out, it's not easy to get to a final. Why doesn't everyone in the top 3 do it? Is unbelievable, by the way.
No, exactly.
Do you know what? Do you know what? If he turned around and said something like, "Ask Mikel Arteta,"
honestly, that is.
Oh, mate, do you know what? I cannot fault his press conferences. He's just an Aussie, isn't he?
He's just Australian. He seems to back the club quite a lot. I think this has been. I don't agree with everything he said, but I think he backs the club.
For all of his errors, he at least backs the club, and he doesn't throw any players under the bus.
The problem is,
I respect him for the most part. I mean, Timo Werner isn't a football player. Timo Werner doesn't play football. He's
a walking P45. That's what he is.
I mean, I could play better than Timo Werner. You go down any local pub in North London and say, "Do you fancy playing 45 minutes of the weekend?" And a fat 40-year-old bloke called Steve could put up a better performance than Timo Werner. I mean, at least he'd give it his everything. Timo Werner's fucking shit, mate. No disrespect to you, Timo. I'm sure you're a very lovely person, and I hope you're the best in life, but football ain't for you.
It's almost like you've got my my notes as well, because the next thing we was going to go on to is big squad decisions. There's a lot of conversations recently. Romero, Richie, Solomon, Tell. It's going to be another huge upheaval, isn't it?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, the issue is we had this huge stagnation of the squad a few years ago. Under Pochettino, then Conte, Mourinho, we had all these different, directions of what we wanted, and all these different sort of transfer policies. Tell, I like Tell, but do I like him 60 million? No. Yeah. Richie, I love him as a player because he's a scrappy fighter. And if I was having a beer with him in a pub, he would definitely glass someone for me. But he's made a glass himself, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. If I was guaranteed, if I was told I could have a Richie for 30 league games a season, then I think people's reactions would be slightly different. I do think he's got some stuff that's not great with him. 100%.
Problem is, though, you're only going to get 10 games. You're only going to get 10 games across a period of 4.
And we were just saying about Pochettino coming back and everything else. If Everton stomp up 40 million for Richie, does it not just work for everyone?
Yeah, Everton are minted, and I like Richie, but he can go to Everton. He can be the main man again.
Yeah, according to Sky today, Moyes quite likes him. To be fair, so that could be something that is a realistic one, because they've said Everton are interested in exploring a deal that could see Richarlison return to the club from Tottenham.
Yeah, I mean, look, I like Richie. He's obviously very passionate about the club, but he's made of glass, isn't he? You look at people like Solomon. I mean, he's going to Leeds. He's going to stay at Leeds. That question is about how much money can we get from Leeds for someone we got on a free, by the way. So I'll play Daniel Levy.
Apparently, he could go to Marseille. I saw a link to Marseille the last couple of days as well for Solomon. Yeah. So I mean, 17 to 20 million. Take that easily.
Leeds will pay more than Marseille will. Yeah, I mean,
he's been a big part. He's been a big part for him. He's been a big part for him, hasn't he? So
I've spoken to Leeds fans, and they think he's great. So I don't know. It'll be due to the transfer budget, but he's not going to stay at Spurs. Romero, look, sign a deal or leave, and if it's a case of Real Madrid in a transfer debate with Levy, that's going to be one of those tricky ones, and we'll get good money for him. But
I think it'll be Atletico. I don't think it'll be Real Madrid. I think he just suits Atletico. You look at him.
He is such a Simeone player.
He's just going to fit in perfectly. They've already got Alvarez there. I can just see him. They just fit in perfectly.
He is such a Simeone player, isn't he?
And what's weird is that Atletico are probably more likely to spend big than Real Madrid, because Real Madrid have got their finances so focused elsewhere that I don't see them stomping up big money. I think he'll go 55, 60 mil.
I mean, they spent 120 million on João Felix, right? So I'm sure they'll spend 80 million on Cristiano Romero. If Simeone really wants Romero, they'll spend 80 million on Romero, and 80 million plus whatever we have, we can replace Romero. I love Romero, but I don't think he's as good as people think he is. He's not Ledley King.
There was another rumor today. Again, you might have seen it, but I reckon that Mbeumo's available for 60 million.
I've heard he's more likely to go to Newcastle based on what that is. And to be honest, I would take Mbeumo, but then it's another foreign player who's just in the way of our youth. I'm a big advocate for youth players, to be honest, coming through the club. So if he comes in, then you block off Mikey Moore, you block off Odebear, you block off Jamie Donnelly, all these. So and not for 60 million. He's not worth that. He's not.
My hot take is I don't think Mbeumo's all that good. I think he's incredibly overrated. Yeah, statistically, he's insanely overrated. I think he's pretty mediocre.
I think if he comes to Spurs, I think he could go up a level. I think if you very similar, you got a similar sort of play style in a way to Kulusevski on the right hand side, Kainin on the left. You've got a decent cross, you've got a good shot. But I think if you then go and you're not playing inverted fullbacks and you've got a Porro that's overlapping him with him cutting in field,
I mean, if we're talking 60 million, go get Benjamin Sesko from RB Leipzig.
He's more of a striker, isn't he?
Yeah, Slovenian striker. Much better player, in my opinion. Much better.
What about going and getting Williams from Bilbao? His release clause is like 45, 50 million.
He's wages though. So because Bilbao operate that system, he's on like 250 grand a week.
Right. So for reference, Bilbao. Sorry, to the viewers who may perhaps not know, Bilbao only sign people from Bilbao.
Basque region.
Yeah. Which is like a part of Spain and a little bit of France. It's like a Welsh team only signing Welsh players, basically.
And that's why they can't. That's why they don't tend to pay out huge fees, but therefore they can have huge wages. And obviously, both the brothers are actually out today against United. So, but he's been linked for a couple of years now, hasn't he? Specifically, Nico.
It's one of those tricky ones because I feel like on the one hand, we spent 50 million on Brennan Johnson, and I love Brennan. He's obviously lost his confidence massively, but he scored like 19 goals for us this season, so not bad, is it?
Yeah.
He's not the player he should be. He's not the player that we will know he can be.
Well, I think that again, this is one of the problems: is that Mbeumo is a definite no-no if we don't make Champions League. So again, everything is put on the back burner now until we find out what's kind of going on and everything else. So So who would you go out and get regardless? Like who would you be your main focus on for the end of the season until start of next season?
I'm a big fan of Benjamin Sesko. Love him. I think he's a fantastic player. Plays for RB Leipzig. I think he's going to be a top quality striker in the future. I also think centre back wise, if Romero goes or not, we do need to invest in a top quality centre back. And I think maybe somebody like Upamecano, because I know a lot of Germans don't like him. Actually, they don't think he's all that good. He could be an interesting signing, surprisingly, because also Bayern still owe us money for the Harry Kane deal. Yeah, they still have some money for that, so we have wiggle room negotiations-wise there. And they're not that keen on him. I mean, they're playing Eric Dyer over him, so says it all, really. But, Benjamin Sesko and Picano. I'd also look towards people like...
have we lost
Delap at Ipswich.
Oh, there he's back.
I'd really rate him at eye test-wise. Oh, sorry. Delap at Ipswich, really rate him.
Yeah, I like Delap.
Those are my 3 signings that I would do regardless of the manager. Umbacano, Sesko, Delap.
Who would you focus on, Callum? Who would be the one player or a couple of players that you really look at in the summer?
I like Joe Bellingham from Sunderland. I think there's a good potential there for a good up and coming number 10. Probably have to go for, I think Liam Delap would be a good option, but then that might block Dane or Donnelly coming through. I'd probably say we need another left back, to be honest. So maybe Cambiasso from Juventus, I think could be a good option there. Another goalkeeper as well. So someone like Verbergen from Brighton, I quite rate him.
Yeah,
I think he's decent.
I think he's going to be a very good goalkeeper.
And if Romero goes, maybe go and get Van Hecker from Brighton as well, the other Dutch centre-back that they've got down there to play alongside Van der Ven.
Yeah. Here is the Postecoglou quote for anyone that hasn't already seen it. If it's so easy to get into a final, why doesn't everyone in the top 3 do it?
Mate.
So, on that note, I think that we've celebrated enough tonight. We've been able to smile. We've been able to say that we're on the road to Bilbao. And that was all this was about. It was either coming on and screaming and shouting and sacking everyone and getting rid of everyone and saying that they should all be leaving, or coming on and saying, we are getting to a European final and Arsenal are not.
They've never been to one, have they, mate?
And that is practically all that there is left to say.
So we're fucking Tottenham boys, mate. We're in a final.
So
Arsenal shit. Enough said. Sorry,
Callum, I know that you do your own podcasting or on shows and everything else. So I haven't got your links in the description because of you got the last minute call up, didn't you? So if you send them over, I'll get them added into the description. But if you just want to let everyone know where they can find you, mate.
No, pleasure for having me on, mate. So you can find me at CallumSubs97 on X. I do Part Lane podcast on Sunday night at 7 o'clock. You can also find me on Scarfy Spurs Talks on a Monday and a Wednesday as well. But no, thanks for having me on, boys.
Thanks for coming on, mate. It's much appreciated. James, you haven't got a YouTube channel or anything, but you have got your own
channel.
I mean,
I used to be on the Cheese Room podcast. I sometimes do Adrian's show, which is Tottenham Until I Die. Sometimes do that. But follow my Twitter, James the Drinker. Just don't get alarmed if there's some weird political comments at 4 a.m. Sometimes I say things at 4 a.m. that maybe I shouldn't say. But, it's mostly football and the odd esports comment. But come on, you Spurs, mate. Just crack on.
Well, as I say, thank you both for coming on. It's really, really, really appreciated. Coming on to celebrate a victory. This doesn't happen very often. So if you ever come back on this, it doesn't come with a guarantee that we win. So, but as I said, I really appreciate you coming on. Cheers, guys. And the last thing to say, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.